Bang, Neves Knives. I'm Jared, my lovely wife Kara's at work, and this is the Willumsen Copenhagen Red E knife. It's R-E-D and then an E. And this knife, I was really interested in getting it because of the sound. Because it has like a really mechanical sound that I really like. But there are some bad things here. There's a lot of good too, so let's just get right into it. So this knife is 6 3/4 total length with a 2 3/4 inch blade, 2 1/4 inch cutting length. A great size comparison is the Benchmade Mini Grip. They are practically the exact same length. So if you like that size of knife, the Benchmade Mini Grip, especially with the sheep's foot, is an amazing knife that's also with the access lock. Now, with the compression lock, you have the Para 3 or Para 3 lightweight, which is just a smidge longer. So with that, you do have a full grip using this choil. But it does take away a little bit of the cutting length. So you have a full grip, but only a 2 1/4 inch cutting length. Now, it does have a deep carry clip, and you can see it's all blacked out D2 blade steel. And they do have, I don't really know much about the company, but they do have, you know, a few knives or a bunch of knives out. I did sharpen it, but I didn't film it, so I'll just talk about it really quick. It sharpened up just fine. It didn't have an issue. I didn't bring it to a complete mirror edge. I brought it to about a 600 grit edge. It's got some smudge on there and stuff, but it did sharpen up really good. You know, pretty even grinds, at least nothing to really complain about too much. They weren't perfect, but it sharpened up just fine. The D2 felt fine. The edge retention's been pretty decent from it. Not spectacular, but I mean, it's been pretty decent. The blade shape is, you know, a drop point blade, and you can kind of see the swedge right here to kind of give it a little bit more of an acute tip. So let's talk about the cutting with it, because cutting with it, it cuts pretty decent, not crazy good or anything, but for just having this little bit of length, it cuts pretty good. Now, if you look at this spot right here, how it's almost a full flat. So when you're cutting, you know, it does have good jimping too. When you're locked in and you're cutting, the material really slides over this area pretty good, and this area. Now, you know, so cutting and slicing is somewhat decent with it. As for the blade going through the material. So as the blade going through material, it does work out pretty good. You don't have a lot of blade length, so you do have to, you know, make sure the blade stays in the material as you're cutting. But you do have a full grip on the handle, so you do have a decent amount of leverage. Now, we'll get more into that in a second because there are a couple little issues, but as for the blade going through the material, it's pretty decent. Now, with the utility cuts, because of this swedge, it does give it a pretty acute tip. So utility cuts, even for a knife with a belly like this, surprisingly, it cuts pretty good with utility cuts. And it, you know, goes through the material just fine. You get a decent amount of leverage into the utility cuts. You do have to lift up, you know, pretty significant because of the belly, but you get a lot of downward pressure into the cut, which does work out. So the utility cuts, no complaints. Especially since this isn't really a utility driven knife, it does really good, you know, considering. Now let's go to the ergos. So you have jimping on the top of the blade, on the spine, and down here by the choil. So you really lock in, or you feel like you're really locked in. The G10 is very, very grippy, and then the rest is steel. So it's, you know, it's got a pretty good amount of weight for such a small knife, but, you know, I don't really ever complain about weight. Weight's really never that big of an issue for me. So locking in, you do feel pretty locked in, but I did notice over, you know, continuous cutting, Well, one, let's just talk about the push cut. So when I'm push cutting, I do have a significant amount of leverage because of this flat spot right here. So it's flat, and then you have the angle. So I do get a significant amount of leverage going through, but my pinky right here, right? If you look, I'm going to turn it a little bit. The clip, it's kind of hanging off right here. Like, you see how you see the clip right there? I mean, it's like it's hanging over the side right here. So I feel directly right here in where my pinky pinches, that clip like pinches right there. So I feel quite a bit, and it only takes a couple push cuts till you're like, man, that thing is hurting me. Like, it really, like right now, if I squeeze, like, I'm in pain right now. I mean, you really can't tell, but like there's a mark there and a mark here, and I really feel it. Now, when I'm holding back like this and I'm cutting, it's not so bad, you know, but in, you know, that grip, it really is. Now, like I said, holding back here is pretty comfortable. I still feel that clip though, because of where it's located. If it would have been just moved over a little bit, it's at this farthest point and leans over, and right there is where your finger goes over the knife. So since your finger goes over the knife, you know, you feel it. Now, because of the utility cuts, or the reason why the utility cuts work so good is because of, you know, one, it's not a neutral grip whatsoever, but this little swell right there really gives you a spot to kind of wrap your fingers around and kind of push up right into your hand. And it's so grippy that you feel like you're locked in. You really get a lot of pressure pushing down. Even in this grip, I mean, you feel like you have a lot of leverage like this. Now, let's talk about the action. Oh yeah, wait, one more second about the ergos. You know, the pull cuts and stuff, this isn't going to be very comfortable. Can you get by and do it? Yes, absolutely. But your main grips are only going to be this, you know, like this, and the push cut, because of it not having neutral grips. So you're going to be limited with the grips, at least for it to be comfortable. Now, the action is great and bad all in the same time. And we'll go into more of the good and bad here in a second, but you can Spidey flick it. Pretty good. Oh, that was my fault. So if you want to get low, because if you go high, you have this little corner right here you got to get around. And when I go like that, I hit it. So you want to go low, and then it works just fine. So get it low and you're good. Thumb flick, same thing. You will hit this little corner right there if you don't go low. And you kind of want to like do like this little wrist thing, which helps, but you can, if you grip it just right, you can go around it. But it's not the easiest to go around because this corner hangs over so far, you know, it just, you constantly run into it. Now you can get it right here and slow roll it just fine. Now, for smoothness, it's amazing because it's on bearings, which is really cool. I do like axis locks on bearings, not always, but a lot of times it's really cool because you don't have to sit there and break them in and get the washers to be very smooth to get good action. It just comes right out of the box extremely smooth. Now, the sound is very addicting, so I do like that. And you can always pull down the axis lock and spring it out, which isn't an issue. So the action is good once you get it down pat. You know, it does take, when I first opened it up, I wasn't that good at it, I'll tell you that. Like, I failed it a bunch of times. But you wind up realizing that you got to hold it low, you got to pinch it a certain way, you got to, you know, you just got to manipulate it a certain way. But once you get it down, you get it down. Now, as for the clip works very, very good. There's nothing in your way going in and out of the pocket, and it actually works very, very well. In and out of the pocket is very smooth, hangs on really good. You know, it's easy to get in and out of the pocket, and it just, you know, it's smooth. It's smooth in and out of the pocket. No complaints about how the pocket clip operates in and out of the pocket. Now, getting it out and getting it into action back in the pocket is okay. You know, the hardest part is making sure you deploy it, you know, successfully. And then, you know, closing, it's not ever an issue really. It's mostly just the deployment, you know, because of this little ridge right here. But like I said, once you get it down, you get used to it, and it's okay to get in and out of the pocket and into action and back into pocket. This is very, very grippy. Like I said before, I mean, super grippy. Now, because it's so grippy, you know, it's going to be gripping your pocket going in a little bit. Now, it's on smooth steel, so the clip isn't grippy or anything like that, but it's just these edges going in the pocket and going past the seam of your pants, you know, you can feel it kind of, you know, creating a little bit of friction. Now, let's talk about some bad things really quick. I know we've already kind of touched on a couple, so I'll just touch back on them and also talk about some other. So obviously we were just talking about the grippiness, and with the action, you know, this little thing right there, it does kind of hinder you. If they would have just like cut this corner off right there, just bang right there, this thing would be so good. But like I said, you can figure it out and it works. Another thing, this coating is not good. The coating is not good. You know, I did maybe a few cuts and it was already like this mark right here came from just a couple cuts. I mean, it seemed like it came very fast on both sides, and I can't get rid of it. I tried washing it. I tried doing everything. You can see where I've been cutting at. I mean, the coating is not going to last and is going to come off. I don't know what the coating is, but it would have been better if they just stone washed it. Now, another thing is these ergos, man. These ergos, like down here, horrible down here, because one, it's just too tight. Like, look at my fingers. I can't hold it like that. Like, I'm smashed. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I would have to hold it like this, right? And then I'm hitting this little spike right there. Now, I understand why they put that spike there, and I'll show it in a second why. But then when you're up here, you're dealing with, or at least my hands are dealing with this damn clip pinching right here in my pinky. Then when I'm in the push grip, same thing. Sorry, my hands are kind of dirty. I was working. But another thing, there's a lot of little hardware. You see the T6. If that's, yeah, the little T6 right there. I like to see big hardware. Now, they do have big hardware though too, because this is just for like this little scale right here, but you have T8s here, T8s there. So I do like to see that. The clip is a T6, but it is a reversible clip. So it would have been nice to see that as a T8 too, but it is sunken down and it is a flat screw. So I'm happy to see that. I'm actually very happy to see that flat screw. So I got to give credit where credit's due. This is very grippy back here. It does work pretty good. And you know, like the grippiness is almost obnoxious with this thing, because it's already got so many like spots for your fingers that it's like, do you really need this jimping back here, or the super grippy G10? You have the jimping here. I mean, it's just, it feels like everywhere you feel there's something. And you know, sometimes it's just a little outrageous. It's not like, this is a little 2 1/4 inch blade. I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, if this thing's not like some battle horse knife that you're taking out into the jungle and chopping down trees with, like, it's an EDC knife. So I think they went a little crazy on the gripping and jimping. Next thing, and I'm like this with all knives, so it's not just them, but Red E, why would you put that right there on the clip? That just looks so dumb. It would stop me from carrying this knife in the pocket, you know, just around town. Like, it really, I don't mind, because nobody really knows the brand, so nobody's got like some opinion on it. You know, that could be a pen, I guess, or something, but you know, come on, just leave it a clip. You don't have to put your name on there. I know what I have, and you know, if you know, you already have all this right here. So basically it's just like, and right here. So we have ready here, the Willumsen Copenhagen, and then on the clip too. Come on, that's a little much. Now, the next thing right here, if you look, you see, and this is why this little area is right here. So how we were talking about these little teeth or whatever it is right there, that's to stop you from getting the tip, right? But I can still kind of get the tip. Now, it's not a horrible thing right now, but I've only put one edge. One more edge, I'm going to be poking this tip. Seriously. I mean, you can see how close it is. Anyways, I can snag it. Okay, so after sharpening it one more time, I'm really going to be snagging it, and it's going to be worrisome. So, you know, that's, I don't know. They could have did something different, or just like made it to where it went in deeper into the knife, I guess, or something, you know. Next thing, the stop pin is the smallest stop pin I've ever seen. I don't know about that, but it's obnoxiously small. Look at this stop pin. Look how tiny that thing is. And it's an access lock, so I would rather see a stronger stop pin. And the reason why, and this is the stop pin right there. Right there's the stop pin, right where the spine. Now it is shouldered, but when you're going like this and, you know, doing all that action, you want to know that you're hitting something solid. Now, I'm not saying it's weak. I'm just saying I'd rather see a bigger stop pin. I mean, this is obnoxiously small. Like even with this little knife, look at this. This is the Kaiser Mini Begletter. Look at how big the stop pin is compared to this one. And I'm talking about thickness. It's probably double as thick. So, but other than that, there are some more good things though. The access lock is easy to grip. I mean, it does have some grippiness, so it's easy to find. It's not sunken in. It's got, you know, nice amount of tension where it's not too heavy, but it's not too soft. You do have like a little spot right here where you can kind of hold it on your palm to drop it into place. You know, the knife does work as a knife, but you know, there's just, you know, and I also like that they use some big hardware in certain spots, you know, with the two main parts. The clip works good in and out of the pocket. The D2, you know, this isn't a very cheap knife either. I think it was around like $89 or something like that, but I would have rather seen it around $50. I do think it is a little expensive for what it's worth, but there you guys go. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.